Happy Mum, Happy Baby is brought to you in association with Fisher-Price. Fisher-Price toys are a great way to mark a child's special milestones, as well as support their everyday play, giving parents a helping hand so they can focus on the most important job in the world, nurturing their child's development. Hello and welcome to another episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. This week's guest, well, she's one of the biggest vloggers, beauty bloggers out there. It's Fleur De Force.
Hello.
You just got such a cool name.
Thanks.
I feel like I want to call you by your full name all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
You can. It might get a bit awkward. It might get a bit awkward.
Maybe. I do it with a few friends. A few of my friends. I just suddenly realised, why have I used their full name? It's because it's such a good name.
Yeah, well, thanks. I made the second bit up. My name is Fleur.
Yeah.
The second bit I made up. So
De Force is not a...
It's not my actual surname, no. I made it up.
No.
Back in the days when YouTube was a bit dangerous and weird, you see.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I can't call myself my actual name on the internet. I'm going to just make up a name, and then it stuck. And then I can't get rid of it now. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just Fleur De
I never
Force.
knew this.
Did you not?
No.
Just think I had an epic name.
Yes. Well, your parents were like a little bit French.
No.
No?
They're not even, because Fleur's French, they're not even French. They're just...
Ugh, Fleur. Fleur. We won't use her full name anymore. It's like a superhero name now.
Exactly.
Actually, it's got better.
Yeah, my alter ego.
Yeah. So you are a new mum.
I am.
Little River is almost 12 weeks old.
Yeah, she's 12 weeks old tomorrow.
Oh.
Or today. Is it Thursday today? No, it's Wednesday. she's tomorrow.
Honestly, but by the time the second one came along, I was literally asking my neighbour how old my baby was. I was like, is he 7, 8 weeks? Pete?
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. It all flows into one. How are you finding it?
This is why you shouldn't have coffee on a podcast, isn't it? You know what? I think, and I feel bad saying it, but I'm actually loving it. I think I'm like the polar opposite.
No, that's okay.
I always listen to your podcast, and I think I'm the opposite of everybody else, because I genuinely thought it was going to be awful. Like,
Yeah.
I was terrified, absolutely terrified.
Is that what the podcast did to you?
Combination. Podcast, like, following lots of mummy blogs, being like, oh my God, I'm going to be so stressed, I'm going to have no time. And then she arrived, and it's actually nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be.
But that's good. It's better that way than the other way.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Of it being too
I was
much.
prepared for it to be the worst thing ever, and I've ended up quite liking it.
But I think it's never going to be the worst thing ever because people go on to have more children. If it was that bad,
Yeah.
we just wouldn't have children.
Yeah. I'm kind of a pessimist, though, so I tend to do that with life. I'm kind of like,
Really?
I always think the worst, and then I'm just happy if it's anything better than awful. So, yeah.
That's so funny. You announced that you'd given birth, and then you didn't release the name.
Oh God.
For a
yeah,
while.
I know.
And it's only because I was watching your video, your 1 month video. So after a month, you decided to sit down and show
again.
River, yeah. And I literally, while you were filming that, while I was watching, I just wanted to leap through the TV screen and hug you.
Oh.
Because you had this thing where you were saying how you kind of you'd pick the name. It was a little bit unusual, and I've got Buzz and Buddy.
Yeah.
They are unusual, and you didn't want to share it because you didn't want people to cast their judgment or share their opinions.
Yeah, you know what? There was a few different factors around
Yeah.
it. Initially, I picked that day to kind of share the name because I pre-filmed loads of content before.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it. I scheduled my content 6 months in advance before I had her because I was like, I'm going to have a month off.
amazing.
I was like, I've never had any time off. I'm going to have a month off when I have a baby. And so I got really, really organised. And that just happened to be the date when all of my pre-film stuff, when I was still pregnant, ran out.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to be like, here's the baby and then go back to being pregnant because everyone's going to be like, this is so old, you pre-filmed it. So I was like, right, that's going to be the date. And then when I put up the picture and didn't say her name, I got so much stick for it, and I wasn't expecting it at all. Like I didn't even really think, because I just like thought, oh yeah, that's you don't really think about that when you're having a baby, do you? It's kind of like
Probably
major
your
life
last
change.
thought,
I'm
yeah.
not thinking about like sharing the name. And then
What does Susan down the
everybody-
road think of this name? Who cares?
And well, I was already, because I'd shared it with my friends and family like before we had her, and there's been a few like, oh, it's a grower, isn't it? And you're a bit like, yeah, usually we don't like it. So I was kind of, it was in my mind, that side of things, but I didn't expect everybody online to go quite so like crazy about it, and make a big deal of it. But then I was kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to stick to my guns and I'm just going to wait until that video. And then I got even more slack. Like, honestly, people were like, you're using your baby to get more views. I was like, I'm really not. I just don't really. I wanted to do it in a video because YouTube's my main platform.
Yeah.
And
And that's how you've shared everything.
yeah. So I was kind of a bit like, well, that's just how I plan. I did not think about it in that much detail.
Yeah.
And then I was just really also just paranoid that people would be horrible. Because, you know, like, yeah, you're a bit emotional when you're a baby. And I was like, I just don't want people to just stop being horrible to me. I was like, I'm just taking a month off. It's kind of all ended up in a bit of a mess. But then I announced it and everyone was really nice.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
fine.
one thing. I think a name is one thing, but a name with an actual human attached to it is completely different.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your content has massively changed since you got pregnant and have had her? You really embraced the pregnancy, haven't you? And you've really sort of shown that side of your life.
Yeah, which I was really surprised that people would enjoy it, because obviously my normal content is very much beauty with a bit of fashion and kind of vlogging my life as well. And it's such a big part when you have your first baby. It's such a big part of your life, isn't it?
It would be weird for you not to talk about
everything. Yeah, it'd be like, oh, by the way, I had a baby last week. I'll tell you about it for the last 9 months. It changes everything.
Yeah.
You know, and your body's changing, and I wanted to talk about it. So I think I kind of put the feelers out and put a little bit of content online with my first pregnancy vlogs, and people absolutely loved it. The reaction was amazing.
Yeah.
So I kind of just shared what I wanted in the run up, and then you become obsessed. I don't know if you did this when you were pregnant, become obsessed watching like what's in my hospital bag videos. And all that
I loved yours. I watched yours the other night, and the organisation that
oh my
went
god, I'm
into
such
these
an
bags.
organised person. I'm such a geek.
But I want to know, how much of that stuff did you use?
Pretty much all of it. Actually.
No, you didn't.
Well, bar a few bits of, like, I had extras of most things, but like,
also you had extra bags in the car.
yeah, extra bags in the car just in case.
That's amazing. Like of extra clothing and stuff and extra nappies.
No, but this is because I know Mike, who's my husband, for anyone who doesn't know, is so useless at finding things. I would give him instructions of like, oh, so you just go get the extra baby vests or whatever. They're in this drawer, third down. And he'd be like, what? And I didn't want to be on the phone in the hospital being like, can you get that? So, yeah, I'm just a very organised person.
But you love that. You love that organisation.
Oh, I love it.
And how about the pregnancy? What was the pregnancy like?
Actually, not too bad either. See, again, I was terrified of
Do
being
not
pregnant.
worry about things being good. Don't worry about it. Just embrace it. Second time round, it might not be the case. So
yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. I was genuinely terrified of being pregnant, and when I was younger, I was terrified of pregnant people as well.
Oh, what is it?
Very
Much the body changing, or
yeah, well, just I don't know. This just freaks me out. Like as a like early teens, I was like, oh my god, I knew I wanted kids. Or you know, I didn't want to be old and alone and never have children. I really wanted family, but I never like envisaged it actually happening. I was like, no, it's too scary. And I just thought it would be just awful. You know, everyone's like, oh, you feel sick all the time, and yeah, I felt a bit sick for the first 3 months, and then after that, I just liked it. And I loved having a big belly as well, apart from not getting through small spaces. That was kind of, you know, when people won't move their chairs, you're like, excuse me.
I'm awful at sort of seeing a space and just thinking I can fit.
Yeah.
So I just
and then you're like, oh,
I'm wedged. Pregnant lady wedged.
Yeah. No, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you miss your bump?
I did, and I miss her moving around. Yeah. Isn't that the nicest feeling when they're moving around? And I thought that would be awful. I thought it would be like a scene from Alien where you're like, oh no. But yeah,
people always ask, what does it feel like? It's like it literally feels like something is inside you moving.
Yeah, but you know what's the weirdest thing now? I think about it, I'm like, I can't imagine what it feels like now. It felt so normal at the time, and you're like, oh, wow, I can feel her, and then now I'm like, I can't imagine her being in there anymore.
Yeah,
so strange.
And so you said that you knew when she was coming, and actually I saw one of your I think in the 1 month video where you talk about that moment going into theatre.
Yeah, I was. It's funny because I was in a weird situation. The fact that I knew that I was going to have a section. Yeah. So when I went into hospital, you know, you walk in and you're totally fine. You're not in labour. You're like, this is, and mentally I'd been quite confident about it. I was like, you know, I've had time to prepare. I'm mentally like, this is going to be fine. It's very quick. And I sat down. You like walk into theatre, which is really strange as well, because you think I should be like wheeled in or something. It's really like terrifying. And I sat down on the bench when they were about to put all the needles in and stuff, and I mentally lost it. I was literally like, oh my god. And I remember looking at Mike being like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like, it's too late now, love. It's like putting the needle in my back. So, yeah, I thought I was prepared, and I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. Yeah. And it's so quick. You're almost just like, you lie down, and then 2 minutes later, they put this baby on your chest, and you're like, oh my God.
You found that moment quite overwhelming, didn't you?
Really overwhelming. And because everybody says, like, oh, the first time you see your baby, you'll never have felt anything like it. And I remember them putting her on my chest, and I was just looking at her. I was like, oh, she's so beautiful. And I was like, oh, I just want to get out of it. Like, I just want to be, like, sat up with her, because she kept sliding down my chest as well, because she was obviously lying flat. Yeah. Just, like, sliding down. Like, she was like, sorry, I'm moving away from the mic. She was, like, right in my face. And I just, the next probably 24 hours, I remember, like, it's obviously, like, you loved her, but that moment for me where that, like, just absolutely overwhelming emotion was, like, about 30 hours after I had her, it hit me. And Mike had gone out for, I think he'd gone to get some dinner or something, and came back, and I was in floods of tears. He was like, oh my God, is everything all right? I was like, I just love her so much. He was like, a bit of a delayed reaction to this one. I was like sobbing. And then for the next, 3 or 4 days, I was just like sobbing and like looking at her and sobbing.
But happy tears at that point.
Very happy tears, yeah.
But I think there is so much pressure on that moment, because you're told you're going to be hit with this oxytocin, and you're going to feel love like you've never felt before, and there's going to be an instant bond. And
yeah. And I think for me it was definitely a little bit delayed. And I did a blog post about this, and actually I wasn't expecting to get the reaction I did, in terms of people saying, oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I felt like that too, and I felt really like a bad mum because I felt like that. I just, it's something that I don't feel bad talking about it, because I love her so much now. But it was a strange beginning. I was definitely like in a little bit kind of just in shock, I guess. You're kind of like, oh my God, I've actually got a baby.
But I think because people don't talk about it, when it does happen, your instant reaction is, oh my God, maybe I don't love her. Yeah. Oh my God, maybe I'm an awful mum.
Yeah, and you start to kind of think awful things about yourself. But yeah.
And then you had a happy few days. Yeah, happy few days of happy emotion. Yeah. And then a week after, it all kind of went down again.
Yeah. The breastfeeding struggle began. Yeah. Because I don't know, the first few days I thought it was all fine, and you're like, oh yes, this is okay. It hurts like hell, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And then the midwives came and weighed her again. They're like, oh, she's lost too much weight, and then it started the kind of whole barrage of like breastfeeding, pumping, topping up with formula, like trying to get her to put weight back on. And because she was born just after Christmas, I had a different midwife every single time I saw somebody. I never saw the same person, because everyone was going on holiday and stuff. And I had one, all of the others were super nice, but I had one really nasty one who kind of made me feel like I was doing everything wrong. And I think it just really knocked my confidence. And it probably took a couple of weeks to kind of get back into the kind of mindset of like, oh no, I am actually, I'm doing my best here. I'm not failing at everything. But yeah, it was just really hard, because you kind of, when they come into your home as well and criticise you, you're a bit like, well, it's okay if you tell me what I should be doing. But she was kind of just like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't be using nipple shields, and you shouldn't. And it was just all negative. And I was like, but what am I supposed to do? Like, she's losing weight. I'm trying to obviously trying to get my milk going. But, after a while it worked. And I'd say it was probably 3 weeks of like utter just pandemonium every time we were feeding her, with like 3 bottles on the go, and we were like pumping into one and doing this just absolute circus. And then my milk started working, and it was all fine.
Oh really?
Yeah. So it was a bit of a wobbly start.
But that midwife thing, I can remember the first time my midwife turned up, and I was mid-feed, and like you, I was really struggling with the feeding. I used nipple shields, and it'll, slip and slide and everything. And so I think I had boobs out, milk was everywhere, like literally stained top. Buzz then decided to do an explosive poo all the way up the back of his baby grow. And then my door went to tell me that the midwife was here. And I literally just thought, she's coming to take my baby away.
Yeah, she's going to think I'm awful.
Yeah, and I think when you're a new mum, I didn't understand the role of a midwife. And that was just me. I don't think I'd looked past the actual giving birth part.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that she was actually there just to check that we were both okay, and she's totally on our side. But it's so overwhelming. And actually, my sister was living with me when she first had her little girl, and she was using nipple shields as well. And interestingly, she had a midwife who was the whole time telling her, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be doing that, like, just unsupportive rather than supportive.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I was there, because my sister
You're like,
had
no,
me there.
keep going.
No, you're fine actually. Or, well, just that, because I think when you're in it, you're kind of like, yeah, totally, yeah, you're totally right. You don't really question it.
No. I think it's one of those, nipple shields are one of those things, aren't they, that they have a bad rep, but they saved breastfeeding for me.
Genuinely. Same for me and same for my sister.
Yeah, because I did 4 days, got horrendously cracked, horrible nipples, used shields for every feed for about 10 days.
Yeah.
And that's why she was like, you shouldn't be using them. And I was like, well, my nipples are really sore, so I'm going to use them. And then after that, they didn't ever kind of crack again. They were fine. So I'm like, they worked for me.
Yeah.
They really worked for me.
And it is that, isn't it? It's just finding out what works for you.
Yeah. Because everyone's got different nipples.
They do. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? I was talking, so the Kimberly episode's just gone up. I mean, we talk a lot about nipples and boobs and shooting milk. It's fascinating. These boobs that you thought were for such different things.
Changes, doesn't it? It all changes when you have a baby.
It does.
The funniest thing I have kind of found with breastfeeding is that moment where they pull out mid-feed and you're just squirting them in the face. And you're kind of like, I don't really know what to do here, so I'm just going to try and aim it in your mouth. See if, cause she's there, like, and it's just squirting in her face, and she's got her mouth open. I'm like, I mean, you might swallow some on the plus side. Like, if I just, like, aim it somewhere else, it's definitely not going to go down. So
No, exactly.
just aim it straight in your mouth.
I was saying to Kimberly that I was literally second round sitting opposite my friend in a restaurant and just accidentally shot at him. Yeah.
Him as well is great.
Him, yeah, my
What a
friend's,
girl.
one of my best friend's husbands. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think he noticed, actually.
Did he not?
No.
I mean, you must have been very stealthy with
Well,
it.
unless he was just like, oh, this is so embarrassing, I'm not even going to look up and I'm not even going to reference
Just gonna
it.
pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. But for me, I always found it with, like, my guy friends, because I have a lot of guy friends, and I feel like there are different boundaries with guy friends than girlfriends, and I was always like, my boobs are out, that's
You're
my friend,
very wary
my
of
boobs
it.
are out. Yeah, especially when they're like bandmates, like that's really quite.
With girls, they're very much like just
It's
kind
a
of
boob.
it doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
then with guys, I'm there with the like muslin, like throwing it over my shoulder, like my boob's out, and I'm just hoping you can't see anything.
Yeah, like my 15-year-old self comes out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's going to see my boob.
But I think they find it awkward as well, especially
Yeah.
for me. Very, very few of my friends have babies. So
Yeah.
the girls are kind of a bit like, oh, what's going on? Can you like, oh, what's that? And they're asking me loads of stuff, whereas the boys are a bit like, oh, God, she's got a boob out. I don't know what to
But
do.
you kind of want to share all the fascinating things that you find about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, look, there's more than one hole. Milk comes out of more than one hole, people. This is amazing.
I mean, breast pumps for the first time. It's revolutionary, isn't it? When you see it squirting, you're like, oh my God, what's going on here?
But that noise of a breast pump, it's just never going to leave you. Are you still feeding now?
Yeah, so I am combination feeding now
Yeah.
because I'm out and about so much. I had pumped a lot. I'm not very good at in public still. I'm like
Pumping in public?
no, breastfeeding in public. So
I was going to
pumped
say, because
whenever I
there's
was
no hiding that.
So yeah, I was pumping a lot every time I was going out, and it got to the point after a couple of months where I was just literally like, I'm falling asleep with the breast pump. Mike was like, this is crazy. So now if we're out and about, she'll have a bit of formula if I haven't had time to pump, and I'm pretty chilled about that. But yeah, still going. And I'm you know what, I actually genuinely didn't think I would be able to breastfeed. I think I've been surrounded by unlucky girls in my life that haven't been able to do it, and so, you know, I've heard all of the negative like stories about it, that, you know, it hurts so, which it does hurt in the beginning. It really does. But like, I think I was so convinced that I wouldn't be able to do it that I was shocked when it worked. Genuinely, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this, it's working, like, and we're getting into the swing of it. So yeah, it's not been as bad as I thought.
Oh no, but you did have the cracked nipples and the nipple shield. So,
yeah, I did. The first few weeks were terrible, but after that,
you're just
it's all
forgetting it. You're repressing it.
I know. I'm just in that happy stage. Like, the sun's out today. That's why I thought I'd blame it on the sun. I'm like, life is amazing.
Well, and River slept last night as well, I hear.
6 hours, yeah.
Amazing.
It's the first time she's done 11 till 6, I think it was.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, it's 6 o'clock.
I can remember actually going to like baby groups, and that question was always asked in one of them, you know, how long did baby sleep last night? And people were saying that their kids slept through the night. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how is my child not sleeping through the night and everyone else's is? And it turns out that people thought if it was 10 till 3, that they
That's
felt
not
that was sleeping through the night. I'm so sorry, darling, but no.
That's not through. I don't know how you were sleeping before, but I was definitely getting at least 8 hours.
But I think it's whatever you can get, you've got to rejoice in.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because, you know, whatever you think is hard, I speak to someone else and she's like, you know, my daughter's averaging about 45 minutes a night. And I'm like, I'm fine.
How do you think you've changed emotionally since being a mum?
Oh, that's a hard question. I think I'm a bit softer, maybe. I'd like to think I'm a bit softer. I think I consider things a little bit more. I think because maybe I have a bit more kind of, I put, like, obviously work comes second now, whereas before it was very much like busy, work, and that was kind of all consumed everything. Whereas now I'd say I'm a bit more thoughtful and definitely a little bit more emotional.
Because obviously that in that second week where it was really emotional for you, did it just kind of disappear one day, or was it a week?
No, it was definitely gradual.
It
was definitely gradual. I'm not a crier though, like normally, so I find it's quite weird with babies because they make you want to cry all the time.
They do, for good things and for bad things.
Before I had her, I never understood. My mum just cries at babies, random babies in the street that she doesn't know. You get into a lift with her and there's a baby, you're like, oh God, she's gonna cry. She starts, and then she's like, gets a bit, you know, watery-eyed. You're like, Mum, pull yourself together. And now I kind of get it.
Have you started crying at adverts and stuff yet?
No. I'm quite steely when it comes to adverts. I don't even cry at the John Lewis advert.
No.
I know. Cold-hearted.
Maybe next year. Maybe this year.
Yeah, maybe this year. Last year's one, I didn't.
Oh, I can't
didn't think it was that emotion. It had a monster in it.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember.
Did you cry at that?
No, probably. But it's funny. What's the catalyst? For me, it was literally my aunt coming over and telling me that I shouldn't be having tomatoes when I was breastfeeding.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a thing, or was she just making out?
I think it must have been a thing back in the day, but it definitely wasn't a thing.
Okay, because I was going to say I definitely had tomatoes.
I mean, I was sitting down to eat my favourite dinner of my favourite lunch of olives, tomatoes, like sun-dried tomatoes and like meats and stuff.
Sounds great.
I haven't been able to have this the whole time I'm pregnant. And then she literally turned up and was like, shouldn't be eating that. I was like, what?
Don't tell me that. I'm so hungry.
But I kept it in. And then she left that night and my brother and my sister were there. And all of a sudden, I think it was literally day 9. And I started crying and I just couldn't stop.
Yeah. That was the mean midwife did that for me, for sure.
Really?
Yeah. And then it just, because it put that niggle of like insecurity in the back of my mind. And then I was like, I just can't do this. And then every time there would be something difficult, it would come back and I would start crying for about a week, maybe a week and a half. And
yeah.
It was all right.
Did you find it easy to talk about?
Yeah. I think, I think the first thing I did was ring up my mum. Mum, this horrible midwife's come round and she said this. And then I think, because at the time, and this is the other thing, Mike was out in the garden or taking the bins out or something.
Oh, so you didn't have
came in. Oh, so are you on your own? And I looked at her and I was like, what do you mean? Is your husband at work? This is like 5-6 days after I'd had the baby. I was like, no, he's outside. She was like, and it's just instantly like judging as soon as she came in, like, are you on your, is your husband a really horrible man? And you're like, no, he's just taking the bins out.
Poor Mike.
So yeah, I think he came back in after she'd gone. And I was like, and then rang my mum and then rang my sister and just, reassurance. Everyone's like, don't worry about it. You're doing fine.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because even though you've got people around you saying, don't worry, now that you've had that person say to you,
it puts the niggle in, and then you're like, well, am I doing that wrong? Has it changed? Because things change so much as well. Like you said about the tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And the really annoying thing was, the whole thing about runny eggs. Well, they took that out about 2 weeks before I had the baby. I was like, I've not been eating runny eggs. Yeah. I was like, I've not been eating runny eggs for 8 months. How dare you? Couldn't you have told me this 8 months ago?
Did it make you cry?
Yeah.
Why?
I just really wanted my dippy egg. But yeah, it's one of those things that everything changes and you kind of think, especially with family, like, there's so many old wives' tales and this and that. And it's the funny thing is the polar opposite. I remember my grandma came round a few days in and she's like, oh, she should have more blankets on. Obviously now when the midwives come around, they're like, take them off, they're too hot. My granny's like, oh, she's cold. And you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do.
It's so hard trying to please everyone.
Someone tell me the right thing to do, because there's no instruction manual for this baby. I don't know what she wants. She can't talk.
But do you feel quite settled now?
Yeah, we're into a good little routine. And I think I'm in that kind of like honeymoon period where she's not mobile yet. And she still sleeps quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I kind of just take her everywhere with me. She's like my little buddy, and she comes round, and I think this is going to get a whole lot harder in a few months when she starts kind of eating solids and you know, the poos get worse and she starts crawling. I think it will be a little bit harder, but at the moment we're in a nice little place, and she's a good girl.
It's also enjoyable though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are obviously bits that make you want to cry in at every stage, but there's so much joy to be had.
Yeah, every time they do something new, it's just like, oh, you know, if she's this week she's kind of mastered grabbing the toys on her little toy arch that she has on her chair, and that would, because we'll put her in it when we eat dinner, and she'll be there, and I'm like, Mike, watch her, but don't make any noise because she'll get distracted. She's there like reaching out when she goes, and you're like, yes, go on, River.
And the dogs are fascinated with her as well, aren't they?
Fascinated with licking her in the face. Which,
no,
it makes it tricky. Yeah, they're actually really, really sweet with her, because I've got 3 dogs, and they're all really lovely. Then none of them, I thought that, especially the miniature dachshund, who was she was the princess before, so we were a bit worried she'd be a bit jealous, but she's been lovely with her as well. I do just worry that when she starts grabbing, that then they won't like her anymore, and it might be a bit of an issue. So we keep a close eye on them. Every time they come in, they're like, oh yes, especially if you just had a feed, they're like, oh, Milky Mouth. You're like, no, not in the mouth.
So I end each episode with 3 questions.
Yeah.
Being a mum means you just got to finish it.
This is the hard thing, because I tried to think of it before I got here, and then I was like, I'm just going to wing it, because I don't know. I think for me, realising that there's more to life than work, a lot more to life. It's like the meaning of life.
Which is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think we're both very similar in the sense that we are quite workaholics. We're quite big workaholics.
Yeah. And when you love work, it almost, it makes you, I don't know, I was kind of like, oh, am I going to be able to do it? And then she arrived and I was like, I don't really care. I was like, I still love work, but you're way more important than work. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. You come first, and everything else just keeping me occupied in between, you know, time with you. In between when you're asleep. So when you're asleep, I'll work, but otherwise, So.
And since having children,
want to put somebody else first. I think because before you spend all your life, you know, I'm not saying I was a terribly selfish person, but you do live quite selfishly before you have kids. And you know, you're fully aware that when you have a baby, you're like, somebody else comes first. But what I didn't realise is that I actually would want that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh yeah, like I want to put her first before me. So yeah, always. Like, it's weird, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, you don't think about what you have planned for the day. You're like, oh, what's River doing? When does River need feeding? When does she need, what's she going to wear today? And then everything else for you comes after that. Yeah. But I love that. And I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's quite a mad transition though, isn't it? From going from that, just you, to having someone else actually who takes priority over you.
Yeah, a whole nother person.
Yeah. How did that feel actually when you left hospital?
What, the realisation that you've got an actual human? Quite terrifying, because we left hospital at about 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And
oh my gosh!
Yeah, the most bizarre. So we got home, and we were like, it's New Year's Eve. We've got a baby. So what are we going to do? We've got to keep it alive. Like, that massive, you know, that huge feeling when you get back from hospital. But also it was this bizarre, weird time of year that everyone else was out partying and having a good time. We were just sitting there on the sofa, like, not sleeping because you've got a new baby staring at you. You're like, what do I do? But yeah, it's actually
what a
really
way
nice
to start the year.
I know, yeah, because then at the 1st of January we were like, it's the start of a new year, but it's the start of a new life for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how has that transition been from, like, you guys being a 2 to a 3?
It's been, I'd say, easy in terms of with her, I find
Yeah.
that quite easy. And Mike's amazing. He'll help out with everything. He's literally amazing. But it's definitely been hard for our relationship because, you know, when you're a bit hormonal and you'll snap or you'll be like, why didn't you do that with a pen? Why didn't you like tidy up that or clean that? And you're like, oh no, I should probably not be so mean to Mike sometimes. But yeah, I think that's the hardest part is like your relationship, keeping your relationship normal and not just like having everything being about the baby and always like arguing basically. So yeah, that's definitely been the hardest bit. But with her, it kind of just came naturally.
I've got to say, I do regularly think to myself, oh, I shouldn't be so mean to Tom.
Yeah.
It is a thing in my
Sometimes
head.
things come out, don't they? And you're like, oh, you're
Didn't
not a
mean to
mind
snap.
reader.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But it would just be nice if you picked up your wet towel.
Yeah. It would be nice if maybe you just did that once in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe help me out. Don't leave your dirty plate on the kitchen table for me
Because
to put
all-
away.
Because of all the things that you would have done naturally beforehand and you wouldn't have even grumbled at. Because I loved, like, when me and Tom moved in together, I loved being, like, the housewife and doing all of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, before all the books and stuff happened. And whereas now, I'm like, look, I've got myself to look after. I'm cleaning up after the boys. Can you just do yourself?
Yeah, just do you and I'll do everything else. I've got everybody else covered. But just, please, just... What the worst thing is, why when boys cook... Are they incapable of tidying up as they go along?
Yeah.
This is a total... I realise we're supposed to be at the end of this podcast now.
It's fine, carry on.
Why? They just, honestly, he'll like take a pan, leave that, put that there. Right?
Yes.
And I'm like, great, so you've cooked, which has saved me about 20 minutes. But now I have to tidy up after you. Like, I'd rather just I cooked and it would all be tidy afterwards.
See, we do that thing where one cooks one night and then the other person cleans up and then you kind of alternate it.
Yeah. I'd just be like, I'll just cook all the time then because then I won't have to clean up your mess. 'Cause I just... He's a good cook though, so I'm kind of like...
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Lastly, I'm happy when.
I'm happy when I see little River smile because at the moment she's at that stage when she she doesn't obviously laugh yet. She hasn't got the
that's
giggle.
soon, though.
I'm
That's
waiting
soon.
for the giggle. I can't wait for the giggle. But she's a really good smiler, and it's quite easy to make her smile. So I'm one of those annoying people that's constantly like, at your baby, because she's always smiling at me. I just look like a crazy person. But
It's so
good.
funny. Your non-kid self, like years ago, you didn't want children, would be looking at you now, going, "Oh my God, that woman doing the cooing."
Doing the cooing on the train. She's so noisy. I'm trying to work. Yeah, that's me now.
No, it sounds delightful. Fleur, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Fisher-Price recognises that every child is born with unique gifts and a distinct personality. Our role as parents is to embrace and celebrate who they truly are. This podcast was brought to you by Fisher-Price.